Welcome back for another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin.
And Pizza Del Rey, located at 911 North Hastings Way in Eau Claire. The best pizza in Wisconsin. They have a pizza buffet, and they also sell frozen pizzas there.
Absolutely.
Love that place.
Great pizza.
Well, let's get started off. We're going to talk about the Badgers. We got the Badgers on the road this week at the new addition to the Big Ten, USC.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you saw it, but USC looked really, really good. Unfortunately, I mean, they lost to Michigan, but they looked really strong just watching the game. And we were actually out of town, but I caught the game in a bar, and they looked good.
Absolutely. It was number 11 USC versus number 18 Michigan. They only lost by 3, 27-24. It's a little, not going to lie to you, a little intimidating after the loss we came off Alabama. Mm-hmm. And I think we all know now, watching that Alabama game, Alabama's not what Alabama used to be.
Right.
And I felt like watching that first quarter, like we really had momentum. Mm-hmm. We were making plays. We weren't making mistakes. And granted, don't get me wrong, our quarterback goes down with an ACL. Right. That's devastating.
It is.
That changes
everything. I mean, if you look at what it changes, Bill, and you know this, it changes your snap count, it changes reads, it changes receivers' tendencies. I mean, it changes everything. But even the snap count. I mean, like hopping off sides because you're used to a cadence as an offensive lineman. Hopping off sides is a big thing when a new quarterback comes in.
Joe, as soon as he started talking, the first thing that came in my mind was snap count. I went back to Wisconsin when we were so used to just repetition, having the same quarterback every single time. Mm-hmm. And then it'd be like a Thursday practice. They'd switch it up. And sure shit, you'd have guys jumping nonstop just because it's off by a half a second, right? And you're ready to move, and the snap count's different. Yeah, so there's a lot of that definitely affected that Alabama game. But defensive wise, we just gave up too many points. You can't give up 42 points against anybody and expect to win, especially with our offense right now. And I know what's the claim to fame that you love about Wisconsin's offense? The not run and gun. What are they calling it now? That we laugh about?
The air raid offense.
Yeah. Even though we have the air raid offense, you can't allow 42 points on defense and expect to win. The other thing that I look at with this USC game is we were talking about it before that, when you're a junior and a senior, you've been to most Big Ten schools at least one time, especially on the road. You know what to expect with how long the bus is going to be from the airport to the hotel. You're probably staying at the same hotel you stayed at 2 years ago.
Correct.
The food's going to be the same as 2 years ago. Football is so much about repetition, and with this USC game, it's almost as if everybody's a freshman because you're experiencing everything for the first time. Right. I remember when we went to stadiums that second time around, I wouldn't even leave the locker room to go out and walk around on the field. Guys like Casey did it all the time, but he was a center too. Like he'd be snapping, getting used to the whatever type of field surface it was. But as a guard, if it was our second time at Iowa or second time in Minnesota, I'm like, I'm resting. I'm looking at my playbook. I'm staying focused. Where USC now, they're in the LA Coliseum, which we have a history of from the Rose Bowl.
Right.
We practice that. There's a lot of history in that stadium, but it's a huge stadium. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those, just little things like we had mentioned before, like where is the play clock?
Yep.
Like, you say that's the quarterback's responsibility, the center's responsibility, but at the same time too, you want to be aware of it no matter what position you are to either mention it to the quarterback, and you just want to be aware where that's at and where it's located in the stadium because they are slightly different. But yeah, it's an intimidating week ahead of us.
Yes, it is. Like I said, watching them play, we have our work cut out for us. And the one thing that I was disappointed in the Wisconsin game, and I think this was kind of probably a turning point, the 4th and 1. The 4th and 1, when we played, I don't ever want to say it was automatic, but the probability of us making 4th and 1, because at that point in time, it was a pride thing and who wanted it more. And that's how we discussed it. Who wants it more? Like you could will your way to make 1 yard. Yeah. And I just didn't see that kind of commitment to the 4th and 1. And that's where we were like, oh, here we go. Prove it.
I think a lot of it goes back to a couple weeks ago when we were comparing the style of offensive linemen that they have today at Wisconsin versus the style they had in the late 90s when we were there at Wisconsin. And these guys are speed guys. They're get downfield. They're get out around the edge on the secondary, on linebackers. And granted, on our end, we weren't as much of that. We were power counter, getting on linebackers inside the box, but we weren't Rarely were we getting on safeties or
No.
corners, maybe a screenplay here or there, but that's what these guys do. They're big, they're tall, they're fast, but yeah, like we always say, they don't have it in their ass to red ass that run. Like we always say. Like, I mean, 1 yard. You know, like we had talked about a couple of weeks ago. I think there was one play at Indiana where we didn't get that yard, and I almost wanted to go to the Indiana sidelines as opposed to looking at Alvarez's face coming off that field. It was scary. You know, like 1 yard was expected. It was with us,
and it's what we did. If that was the expectation, that was drilled into us by our offensive line coach, everything, and there was a pride thing. And the last thing I want to do is let you guys down around me because I'm the one who shit the bed and didn't make the 1 yard because I missed my block. I wasn't low enough. I wasn't, I got blown up.
And we had the attitude too that if you can't push a defender back and get enough room for Ron or the quarterback to get 1 yard, you shouldn't be out there.
Agreed.
I mean, we just flat out felt that way. Like 1 yard, like we were more concerned about getting Ron or whoever's in the backfield 4 yards or more on first down. Because we knew the statistic, if you, I think it was like 60% of the time, if you get 4 yards or more on first down, you're going to win the game. Like that was just another statistic that we had. But yeah, 1 yard not being able to get it, that's definitely disappointing as an alumni and a Badger fan. And hopefully that, that's something that gets corrected over time. It's not going to get corrected in 1 week. But speaking of 1 week, they're coming off a bye week. And that is one of the positives I'm looking at with how intimidating playing USC is. I apologize. USC coming off of the Alabama loss.
And bye weeks are tricky. That's the thing. Yeah, I noticed that.
My headphones.
I noticed that in the first 30 seconds, and I wasn't gonna.
Now you sound a lot better. Holy cow!
I sound amazing as always. Anyway, bye weeks can be tricky. Because you still have to maintain that edge. You're not implementing a whole new offense. You're not implementing a lot of plays. You have to maintain the physicality of it. So, but you also have to heal. And I hate having buys early on in the season because you're dinged up. I wouldn't say maybe you're beat up. Each person is their own. But I would rather have it later in the season because it allows you a chance to heal. Ice, stim, extra treatments, etc. So you can keep on progressing. So it's going to be a long rest of the season because injuries, and towards the end, it's a haul. It wears on you physically, mentally, when it hurts all the time, and there's never any because practice is always going to happen. Games are always going to be on Saturday. So you never get the chance.
In the Big Ten season as well. So, I mean, there's definitely going to be a lot of bumps and bruises, a lot of those, we say injuries, but those pains that you're going to play through. You're not going to sit out because you sprained your ankle 2 weeks ago or you broke a finger or dislocated something. Like, you're going to play. So that week helps. But at the same time, too, like you said, we're not installing new defenses and offense. But what that week's going to do, and you had mentioned it, that we're not going light on the bye week. There's intensity. You're going full pads. You're scrimmaging. But the biggest thing is we're trying to correct any mistakes that have happened over the previous weeks.
Right. So it is a double-edged sword. It's nice to rest. I hate that it's early. But also, I remember our bye weeks. They were not easy practices. No. It was not a walkthrough. It was not a, hey, let's let our body heal up. No, it was pretty consistent with full pack and
absolutely. It was almost like 1 week of spring ball.
Yes, it was.
Where they're just like, we got a whole week where we get
his dreading
crap out of them. Yeah. And then after the bye week, then you get back into normal game week. But looking at this week, and I was looking online, and it's sad to say, but people are predicting USC over Wisconsin. The three different sites, and I'm not going to mention the sites, but the three different sites I looked at had USC winning on all three. One was 31-23, one was 24-17, and one was 28-20. So everybody's looking at it as it's going to be a close game. But you can see by those scores, they're looking at it like our defense is going to be giving up points, and obviously our offense is going to score enough to get the win. With that being said, we got two young guys at quarterback, Braden Locke and Mabry, I hope I pronounced his last name right, Medauer, I believe it's something like that. But Braden's a sophomore and Mabry's a freshman.
Yeah.
So just a whole nother can of worms that, where I look at when we go back to our past and look at what we did, we had consistency at all the positions. Guys, we we got lucky where we didn't have severe injuries where guys missed a season or guys came out. And we had the same quarterback for 2 years, then we had the next quarterback for 2 years. We had the same offensive line put together for 3 years, right. And the majority of it was still there in year 4. We had the same running back for 3 years, so on and so on. We had continuity amongst those positions where you knew where the quarterback, like as an offensive lineman, and we talk about the difference between year 1, year 3, year 4. Year 1, we're concerned about ourselves. By year 3 and 4, you know where that quarterback's going to line up. So you know if that guy gets a little edge on you, you could just run him by the quarterback because you know exactly, the quarterback's going to be behind my right hip. If this guy takes the edge, I could just run him straight back. He might be close, but he's not going to touch the quarterback. Right. Where when you have new guys in there, you're going to have happy feet. You're going to have guys, like now we got to be concerned about controlling the ball, not turning the ball over. Yep. I mean, simple things that you take for granted with continuity, even center quarterback exchange. Yep. We need to make sure the ball is being controlled and we're not turning it over.
And when you're second string, you're behind, you're getting the mental reps, but you aren't getting the physical reps. Okay. So you're not. So now this young quarterback's going to step in here and now he's worrying about reads.
Yeah.
And
pressures, blitzes.
You have to adjust your offense based on how well your quarterback can play.
Correct.
So then you're more apt to build confidence by doing short passes and running the ball. If we can't run the ball, then that opens up a whole nother issue, So they have their work cut out for them this week. Like I said, I've heard a lot of boo birds out there, like Fickle needs to go, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, hey, you know what? This is his second season, okay?
Exactly.
Like, again, a little grace, a little patience.
Yeah.
I'm not against him at all. I'm rooting for him. I really want him to succeed. A lot of his guys that he's recruited aren't playing yet, so this is still the team that he was handed.
Yeah.
And, let's give him the due diligence as fans of the Badgers and make sure that he gets his opportunity and we'll see how it goes in the future.
Absolutely. And I think fans forget a lot of the times that nowadays with the playoffs and the national championship, only one team wins a national championship every single year. Mm-hmm. Maybe 1 or 2 teams go undefeated every single year. We have 1 loss. Mm-hmm. We said Alabama's not the Alabama they used to be, but it's against Alabama, our 1 loss. Mm-hmm. We don't know where this season's going to go. I mean, me and you hope it's going to be tremendous, and hopefully we don't see another L or not too many more L's. Right. But there's a lot of future ahead, and I think you hit the nail on the head that he's still a young coach, a new coach. Now, devil's advocate to that, the way football is, you don't have that long of a string.
No, you don't.
So I'm not saying year 2. I think people are getting way carried away saying get rid of them because who are you going to bring in?
Right.
The grass isn't always greener on the other side, and we got a coach that has a proven success record at other schools. But I think, like we've talked about in weeks past, it's not just the coaching, it's not just who he hires and who he recruits. It is this NIL deal. It's the transfer portal, such as with Tyler Van Dyke, our quarterback that suffered the season-ending ACL injury against Alabama. What I read this morning is he has potentially another year that he could come back. He could get a medical red shirt. Mm-hmm. Is he going to? Is Braden or Mabry going to become a starter that he's not going to be able to beat out? Is Tyler going to, if he decides to play football again, is he going to go into the transfer portal? Will he come back as an experienced quarterback? There's just so many unknowns that our coaches and we didn't have to deal with back then that college football has to be concerned with nowadays.
And honestly, I think it'd be hard to be a coach. I think it'd be hard to be a player right now with the way it's run with the NIL. Like, it would be hard for transfer portals and all that. I mean, it was hard enough just concentrating on what we needed to do. Yep. Going to school, being a student. Well, I went to school, me being a student athlete, you just being an athlete that slept in all the time. But
I went to a couple classes.
You went to a couple of classes. But I knew my routine. I knew what I needed to do. And there wasn't much change out of that. And I didn't have to worry about, is the guy going to be here at the end of the season? There was none of that didn't happen. It was just the consistency, the continuity, to be able to gel, to be able to know what you're going to do on each play because I knew how you operated. I knew where your feet were going to be. I mean, there's just so many different aspects to it now. And I think it'd be very, very hard to be a coach at the college level.
Hey, Joe, I got a question for you. I got a buddy in Florida that wants Cabin Coffee, wants to give it a try. He hears us talking about it. How's he go about ordering it?
Not hard, Bill. Just have him Google Cabin Coffee Altoona. We have a website. Down below, we have a bean menu. He can go through, see the description of the beans, and then he can just email me at altuna@cabincoffee.net and then send me his order and some contact information. I'll give him a call, and I'll figure out the rest and get it in the mail.
That sounds easy.
Very easy.
Absolutely. A coach and a player. I mean, your teammates, your best friends may be leaving
Yep.
1 year after another, let alone, like we had a phenomenal close-knit family as a team. But you look at it today, and if nobody offers you NIL, but the guy that's playing next to you is getting $100,000 a year.
Yep.
I mean, just think about the jealousy,
Yep.
because we were all in the same boat for the most part. I mean, there were some players whose families were more well off than others, but for the most part, we're all stealing food from training table. We're
Right.
all stealing water bottles and Gatorades from the stadium to take back to our apartment. We're all scrambling towards the end of the month, eating ramen noodles or trying to,
Right.
get more food at training table. Nowadays, I mean, one, college is just different with what they offer. But with this NIL stuff, the amount of money, and I say this over and over again, I sound like a broken record. The NCAA, when we were playing, and I'd say 4 years ago, was the most regulated organization in America.
Yep.
About 3-4 years ago, they dropped every regulation and just became the most deregulated organization in America and just said, we don't care about anything.
Right.
I said, at one of these days, like you think about it, it was roughly, I'd say about 23 years ago, or how many ever years LeBron's been in the NBA. When LeBron came out,
37. It's been 37.
37, yeah, so probably almost 50, and he'll probably play another 20. But when he came out, Nike gave him a $100 million contract. What's to say Nike or some other company doesn't go to, say, like the next Braylon Allen, who's 17 years old as a freshman, and they go, this kid's got a really good chance to win the Heisman. He's going to play professionally. We're going to offer him 100, 200, 250 million to be, let's just say, a Nike athlete for life. Can you imagine a college? One, these kids aren't going to be playing in the NFL. If they're making that, if kids are making between 10 and $20 million in college, why do they want to play in the NFL? What's the only incentive other than celebrity status, being on TV, and making a bigger name for you? It's not about the money. It's not about taking care of yourself, your family, your future kids. It's not about any of that because you made your money in college. And I mean, granted, we all know from Powerball winners, this and that people could blow money. But if you're smart about your money, there's no need to bang your head up anymore. No need to put your body through the pain and suffering that athletes go through. It's an interesting world, and I say at some point they're going to have to regulate this money issue, this NIL deal.
And I think, too, look at the big SEC schools like the Alabamas. I mean, the amount – Wisconsin's not going to be able to compete with that kind of money for the NIL.
Yeah. And surprisingly enough, Texas is the big one.
Yeah.
Texas is the one that has the most NIL money, the biggest boosters, all that oil money down there. And you look at Arch Manning. He was a freaking – now, granted, everybody saw the future with him. Right. But rumor has it he's making between $3 and $4 million a year, and he just became a starter because the starter went down.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's exciting watching him and exciting to see where his future is going to go. But a kid that's 18 years old, that's a backup in college, making $3 to $4 million. All I say is, where's our reparations from our years? I haven't seen my check come in the mail.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen, but. It would have been nice.
Well, just like I tell my kids, whenever we go to a game, our seats were lucky enough when you look straight up at the wall above where our tickets are at football games, there's the 99 and 2000 Rose Bowl logo on the wall. And I'm always like, Dad, put that up there. So I'm waiting to get my check in the mail. Like, I think we deserve a reasonable check. We'll reach out to Chris McIntosh, AD at Wisconsin. I think Joe and I, amongst the other players from those teams, deserve some sort of stipend. Maybe even if it's not a big check, maybe just a check weekly or monthly, just to keep us happy and not have us get upset about anything.
I agree. I think that's a good idea, and I think we should get a petition and see if we can't maybe do a poll online and see if that would be a thing.
We should do a poll. There's the poll for this week. Should former players get reparations? I'm going to definitely do that. Let's move on to the Packers. And we're going to talk about last week's Packer game. I didn't even think – maybe next time we should talk about next week, but we're talking about last week's Packers played the Titans and got a good win without Jordan Love, the starting quarterback, in there. I think my biggest takeaway from it was I'll just go two things really quick and then we can dig into it. The defense looked good, and Malik Willis, the backup quarterback who used to be a former Tennessee Titan, he played a great game as a quarterback.
And to step in and be able to come in and learn the system that fast. Guy can scramble. He is accurate. He looked really, really good. As a matter of fact, I didn't go to the game, but I was in Tennessee, in Nashville for that game. Watched it at an establishment, and it was a good game to watch. It was we were surrounded. Packer fans travel very, very well because when we were in Nashville, there was Packer stuff everywhere. So kudos to our state for the awesome representation down there. But it was a very good game.
Stay tuned, folks. Maybe in the next couple of years, we'll be traveling as well with the Packers doing the podcast on the road.
There you go.
We'll see. Reach out to 217southmills.com. And if you have a request, put your budget in for what kind of budget you have to bring us down. And obviously our flights and hotel and food and stipends, and then what your budget is to have us at your establishment. But
I have a feeling that we're going to be doing some flag football games for the YMCA across town. And maybe afterwards we'll get a blizzard with the team.
Only if they win. Well, my big takeaway with Malik, similar to you, the biggest takeaway is as a backup, especially somebody that's not, yes, you prepare in practice. Everybody has to prepare as if you're going to play, knowing you probably won't, but you have to have mentally prepared. He didn't turn the ball over. He protected the ball. He made smart plays at quarterback. And he didn't try too hard. He didn't try to do more than what the team needed him to do. But the biggest thing is protecting the ball. When you get that backup in, that's doesn't think he's going to play. Like when you have a Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers and now a Jordan Love in there, you're assuming they're playing 4 quarters. Just like us as linemen, when you're a backup, you're assuming the starting 5 is going to start until somebody goes down. And yes, he had a week to prepare for this game, but that big thing, protecting the ball, that definitely helps him get the win. On defense, digging in deeper, just looking at 2 statistics, we had 8 sacks on defense. That's huge. 2 picks, one of which was a pick 6 by Jair Alexander early in the game. I believe it was the first quarter. That helps your quarterback tremendously. You're helping with field position. You're keeping their offense off the field. And their quarterback, Tennessee's quarterback, I can't think of his name right now. Something.
God, I don't remember.
White guy with the hair.
Yeah.
But I actually sort of like him a little. I'm not saying like more than Jordan Love or Malik Willis, but I've been a supporter of him without the Packers. He's got this crazy mayonnaise commercial. Have you seen that? I'll show it to you.
You say a mayonnaise commercial?
Mayonnaise commercial. It's like it's a weird mayonnaise / cologne commercial, and it's just one of those I just laugh at it stupidly because I still don't understand what he's advertising for. I don't know if he's advertising for mayonnaise or if he's advertising for cologne. Maybe, you know what? I'll drop the YouTube link of the commercial on our social media sites. If you haven't seen it, it's very, very strange.
How about mayonnaise flavored cologne? Is that a thing?
I don't know. But what he does, and I saw him get on, he was on, I think, a Barstool sort of talking about it where I think he thought it was funny. And I think he obviously got paid to do it, so he's willing to do it. But then after doing the commercial, I think he regretted it a little because some people thought he was a little crazy because of some of the stuff he was doing, like with the mayonnaise and like eating. I think one of them he's eating mayonnaise on a spoon, and it's a weird commercial, but you can't not laugh when you watch the commercial.
And show a little personality,
he's having a little fun.
It's supposed to be entertaining.
Exactly, but I think he put himself in a corner where people that don't know him and only saw that, they're like, what's wrong with this guy? And he's the type of guy. Now, here's a good example. Now, he's a starter. Malik Willis is a backup. But Tennessee's quarterback as a starter, which sadly enough, I can't remember his name, he seems like he's trying too hard. He's trying to make those plays as he's going down. He's trying to pitch the ball, do the sidearm deal. It's turning into fumbles. It's turning into interceptions. And, he's just been off to a rough start.
But where does it all start, though, Bill? Offensive line.
Absolutely. You got to protect.
That's the same problem that I don't care what sport or I don't care what level you're playing on. It can be freaking YMCA. It can be high school. It can be college. Your offensive line got to be able to do the job. And
Absolutely.
The expectation for former offensive linemen, this is what we're supposed to do. And it's hard to watch and it's very lonely. It's a lonely ass place when you're out there and you can't do anything, and the guy is circling you like a freaking great white shark, and you can't stop him, and he keeps blowing up the freaking play in the backfield, and you're getting your ass chewed, and you're letting your guys down. It's a very, very lonely place. That front five, and all you have is each other, so you better freaking figure it out.
Yeah. Well, we were talking the other day with a fan saying they brought up, should a coach get fired? Should the quarterback be benched? And to your point, it starts up front. Like I saw a play the other day where the quarterback got sacked. Had nothing to do with the head coach, had nothing to do with the quarterback. It was a simple slide protection. The left tackle passed the guy inside. The left guard never came off fast enough. Guy runs right up the middle and sacks the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Then when he comes off late, the center lets his guy slip and two guys are on top of the quarterback. Right. It has nothing to do with the coaching. It has nothing to do with the quarterback. It's the offensive line not being on the same page, not executing the play properly.
Right. And sometimes the guy across from you is just a fucking stud and is a beast. And no matter what you have in your toolbox, it's never enough. Like, honestly, I've had those guys where I didn't have – this guy kicked the shit out of me. Like, I had nothing other than holding the shit out of him or tackling him by his ankles because the guy was kicking the crap out of me. That's it. Sometimes people are better than you.
So I just looked it up while you were talking there, which I 100% agree with you. But the Packers this coming up week, which this podcast will probably drop the Tuesday after this game, but it's going to be the Minnesota Vikings. We probably will do a podcast recapping that game, but the only thing that comes to my mind is the Vikings still suck. And to this day, any Vikings fan that wants me to sign a Packer autograph picture, I put on their Vikings suck.
I think that's great.
But I'm trying to look to see if it's at... Oh, it's at Lambeau Field. Okay. So Packers have that advantage. The one thing about Minnesota, now just thinking about it, because obviously the Metrodome's not around anymore, and they're both the Gophers, or that shitty team to the west, I should say, and the Vikings have their own stadium. But, man, that Metrodome, that sucked. Everything about that Metrodome sucked. Yep. It was too loud. Noise was crazy. Both college and professional, they pumped crowd noise in behind our benches. And the worst thing, and I'm sure – you might not think of it right now, but as soon as I say it, you're going to remember it. The fucking stairs to the locker room.
Yep.
We had to walk, I'm conservatively estimating 4 flights of stairs from ground level on the field to get to the locker room. That absolutely sucked. And we had to do that at halftime. Then after the game, it was like, fuck me, like, where's an elevator?
Yeah.
Because we'd be dead.
Yeah, you're dead to the world. You have nothing in the tank, and then you have to walk up the bloody steps to get there. It's just stupid.
And at halftime, it's like we're doing another workout. Just to get up there. By the time you get up there, you got about 10, 12 minutes left. Now you got to walk back down. Now you got to play. Like, God forbid the offense is starting off the second half. So, I hate everything about Minnesota. Maybe not as much as you. I know you hate them with a passion, but I definitely hate them.
Yeah, well, I made sure that I looked at their score, and they lost to Iowa. I'm not a fan of Iowa, but I just don't hate them as much as I hate Minnesota. Exactly. I mean, so
and we could find things to respect.
I can respect Iowa.
Yeah, we can respect.
I respect the history of Iowa. I respect a lot of Iowa. That doesn't mean I like them. I can respect you. I don't have to like you. I can't stand the bloody team to the west. So
I hear you. And I know we're coming close to wrapping this episode up, but the one thing, speaking of quarterbacks, that I wanted to mention is Caleb Williams. Okay. And we talked about him, I think, last week in the Packer episode. But yeah, he's another one of those quarterbacks, first pick of the NFL draft. Everybody thinks he could walk on water. And what I think the NFL has been teaching us over the last, say, 10 plus years is quarterback is one position that cannot come out of college and have tremendous success the same way they did in college. I mean, we've seen the Johnny Manziels, we've seen the Justin Fields, that everybody just thinks they're going to win a Super Bowl once they hit the NFL level, and it's not the case. The quarterbacks we see having more success, one, Aaron Rodgers, he sat out, I think it was 2 or 3 seasons as a backup, learning, understanding how to be a professional, but learning the system, learning the nuances of the professional level, where you put these young guys in, and literally they're coming off college is ending in December, January with football. They got the draft, they got the combines, they got mini camps, then boom, training camp, which training camp in college is 2 weeks, training camp in the NFL is 6 weeks with 4 to 5 preseason games. Then boom, you start I think now it's an 18-week season with 17 games, and then the playoffs. And so far with Caleb Williams, I'm not saying his offense is protecting him the way they should.
They're all lines
but everybody assumed he was going to be just blowing it up, and his numbers look shitty. He's trying to be the next Patrick Mahomes, and just not there yet, brother. I mean, you got to take your time. You got to, like you said about like Wisconsin, you got to start off establishing the run. You got to start with the easy path. Don't be doing the sideline.
Right.
But the other thing too that gets me with Caleb Williams, and I'm sure Bears fans are going to, well, I don't even know. Bears fans might agree on this, but I'm sure there's people in the public that don't listen to our show that would be upset with me. I just don't like his personality. Okay. I don't like the dude that paints his fingernails. He came in looking like he was wearing girls' pants to the last game because now obviously they film everybody what they're wearing.
Right.
Like he just looked like a freaking weirdo. And I'm like, I feel like you're more thinking about what colored nails you're going to paint, what kind of pants you're going to wear. Like start thinking about what are you doing on the backside blitz? What are you doing? Like who's your hot route when the unblocked defenders come in? That's what you should be thinking about as a rookie starting in the NFL in the NFC North of all divisions. And it just seems like this kid's more concerned about flash. Yeah.
More worried about appearance.
Yeah.
More worried about ego.
Yes.
All the really good things that are really important when you play football.
Exactly.
God, you know what I would wear?
Jeans and t-shirt.
A black t-shirt and a black hat and jeans, and I would walk in there with my head down because I'm going to freaking work.
Yeah. Playbook under your arm.
Yes.
Ready to work.
Yeah.
Like Coach Alvarez, lunch pail and hard hat.
Yeah.
It's time to go to work.
And act like you've been there before.
Exactly.
It's not and I'm sorry, I'm old. I don't. This whole fashion show bullshit before the freaking games. I don't even know. I have no zero tolerance for it because all it is look at me.
Exactly.
Look at me.
Exactly.
Look at me.
No, I hear you. I absolutely hear you. I don't know if he wants to have. And I know we put a poll on last week's episode. Will Caleb Williams be a franchise quarterback? And I think right now it is totally up in the air. I mean, the kid's got potential. He's got athleticism, but yeah, he needs to tighten down on the basics. You know, understand that off. And hey, Caleb Williams as a quarterback can't fix his O-line.
Right.
So they need to work on themselves as the O-line, but he needs to be able to deal with what's in front of him. Yep. So if guys are coming free, get rid of the ball faster. Stop dancing around. Don't scramble back 28 yards and then take a sack. You know, you got to learn when to get rid of the ball. You got to learn, okay, I got to throw it away. I don't care if it's 3rd and 3. I just scrambled 18 yards backwards. Throw the ball into the stands.
Right.
You know, save it to play another down.
I think Coach Hughes said it best. Don't confuse effort with results.
Absolutely.
And I don't care. Maybe he's a great in practice, but practice is not the game.
Yep.
You learn how to play the game in practice. You practice like you want to play. The game should be easy. You're not there yet. Yep. And again, and I'm not a Bears fan, but my brother is, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll talk on this, but I agree with you with everything you said. Like,
yeah. Well, and you got to remember too, like going back to personality, this is the guy that we had talked about that went to the combines, showed up at the combines, and said, "I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing the doctors. Yep. I'm not doing interviews. I'm not throwing. I'm not lifting. I'm not running." So he walked in there like, "Oh, I'll show up just to let you see me, but I'm better than everybody. I'm the best. I deserve to go number one." And now you're playing like shit.
Yeah,
you know, you blame it on your team. I saw an interview. He said, I think they're playing Indy or now when the podcast comes out, the game will already be played. But as we're recording the podcast, they're coming up with Indy. And he's like, yeah, I think we're going to do good as long as our defense steps up. You're calling out the other side of the ball.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
Can you imagine if you were a defensive guy and your quarterback said that?
No.
In any position, and somebody said that, I'd lose my shit. And especially a freaking rookie.
A rookie. Yeah. I'd have some lookout blocks.
Yes.
In practice.
Exactly.
In practice and in the games.
Yep.
And then maybe we'll have to redo his nails at halftime or whatever the hell we're doing.
No shit.
Fuck's sakes.
No shit. Just play football. That's all we're asking as fans and former. We know the game's changed. We know the generation changed, but just play the game. Don't do the extra shit. Like, once you win a Super Bowl, then do whatever you want to do. Yeah. You know, like once you retire with, you know, like when you're some of these guys that have multiple rings, when you're Tom Brady, you could do whatever the hell you want to do. But if you claim you want to be the best and you claim you can walk on water, shut up and go to work. And then act like a Peyton Manning, like you've been there for. Been there before. Hold people accountable. You need to be the smartest player on the field, and you're not. You need to hold yourself and hold your players because you are the leader of the offense. Yeah. That is your job. You are the leader. You are the commander. You're the general on the field, and
you're not showing it, man.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode. Stay tuned next week for another episode of 217 South Mills. And we'd like to thank our sponsors. So I'll start off with thanking Pizza Del Rey again. Pizza Del Rey is located at 911 North Hastings Way in Eau Claire. And I say it, Joe agrees, best pizza in Wisconsin. Pizza buffet. They sell frozen pizzas. Go get some great pizza at Pizza Del Rey.
Absolutely. And then I'm brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona. Hey, you may not know this, but I just shipped out some coffee to one of our former teammates over in Pittsburgh, Dave Costa. So, again, folks, we do have the ability to ship coffee, and I've been talking about it, and people have been reaching out. Go to Cabin Coffee Altoona, Google it, and then what I want you to do is I want you to email me your order and your contact information. There is a menu on there, a bean menu, that will tell you all of our single origin beans, all of our blends that we have, gives you a description of it too, what it tastes like. Then email me at altoona@cabincoffee.net. I'll repeat that again, altoona@cabincoffee.net, not .com. And with your order and your contact information, I'll give you a call, I'll get your information, I'll get it shipped out to you. So it's always an option.
I'm going to repeat it one more time because I love Cabin Coffee and I love the coffee they have, but I do it a little different than Joe. Joe likes to Google. I like to use Google Maps. You could type in Cabin Coffee Altoona. Either way, you're going to get to the same website. And just like Joe said, altoona@cabincoffee.net. Give your name, order, contact info. Joe will get a hold of you and get you some great coffee. Your house will smell good. You'll have the energy, and it's going to taste great.
And I'm gonna ruin your life for coffee for the rest of your life. Just know that.
Because you're not going to be able to drink anything. No. Everything else is going to taste like crap after that.
Brown flavored water, buddy.
Absolutely.
It's just brown flavored water.
I hear you. Well, thank you again, guys. See you next week.
Thanks a lot, folks.
Thank you for listening to Joe and I today. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you like what you heard, please give 217 South Mills a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Go tell your friends about us. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'd like to thank Cabin Coffee Altoona for sponsoring us. Everything is always better at the cabin. See you next time. And remember, folks, Red has to run.